Did you know only 6% of people are getting enough fiber? That's why Quaker created Fiber February, a month-long movement to show your gut a little more love. It's like dry January, only easier and more delicious. Quaker has over 100 delicious options that are a good source of fiber. So go buy Quaker Oats today and join the Fiber February movement for a healthy gut.
Refreshing wild cherry cola meets smooth cream. The treat you deserve. Pepsi Wild Cherry and Cream. Treat yourself.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Zootopia 2 has come home to Disney+.
Let's go!
Get ready for a new case.
We're the greatest partners of all time!
New friends.
Gary the Snake.
And your last name?
The Snake.
Dream Team. And new habitats.
Zootopia has a secret reptile population.
You can watch the record-breaking phenomenon at home. Zootopia 2, now available on Disney+, rated PG. And right now you can get Disney Plus and Hulu for just $4.99 a month for 3 months with a special limited time offer. Ends March 24th. After 3 months, plan auto renews at $12.99 a month. Terms apply.
All you heroes, hawks, crows, rooks, and inquisitors. Welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we unpack, discuss, and theorize about all the lore behind the Dragon Age series.
We are so excited to bring you this podcast. Every episode will be covering a different topic in the Dragon Age universe, from character deep dives to exalted marches and elven gods. We'll cover it all.
There will be spoilers. And always remember, swooping is bad.
And welcome to the Dragon Age Lorecast, where we talk about Dragon Age and its lore. I'm one of your hosts, Austin, also known as Teacup.
And I'm your other host, Shelby or Shecup.
Yes, and that you are. And we're back for another episode, and we are not sick.
No, we're not. It's so exciting. I finally have my voice back. I think we both have a tiny lingering cough, but I'm healthy, you're healthy, the baby's healthy, the dogs are healthy. Everybody in our household is back to normal, and it's amazing.
Yes. God bless Shelby in her editing last week, because I had a pretty bad cough. I don't know how much of it actually made it into the episode, but I'm sure she took out a lot.
I think that there was one instance that made it in that I just could not get out. But other than that, I think I edited out probably cumulative 5 minutes of coughing. So yes, but we are here, and let's just dive right in.
All right, let's do it. We're continuing with Archons, right?
This is our last episode on Archons.
All right.
One.
Well, let's do it.
So I just have one little fun fact today. It's really not a fun fact as much as it is a disclaimer. But I did want to start the episode out with this because all of the Archons we'll be covering today do not have dates associated with their reign. And so as such, I cannot place them in the chronological order of Archons. Now, I do believe most of these Archons come from the Ancient Age, but the only one confirmed to be from the Ancient Age is Archon Ishal, which we will get into later.
Interesting. So these are just Archons we know existed, but we don't know when they reigned.
Exactly. So the first one that I have today is somebody called Hadrianus. And he is notable for the fact, I should say they, because we technically don't have a gender. But as we talked about on last week's episode, I am working with the assumption that all the Archons were males before Maevaris, if she becomes Archon. So Hadrianus, notable for the fact that he discovered the Deathroot plant. Now, the Codex, interestingly enough, tells us that there are actually two types of Deathroot, Arcanist and Lunatic Deathroot. Hadrianus allegedly discovered Arcanist Deathroot as it was growing on the bodies of his dead slaves. But something that's interesting to me about this story is the Codex entry that talks about Lunatic's Deathroot. It says this, quote, Lunatic's Deathroot is most closely associated with the story of the courtesan Melusine, who sought revenge on a powerful magister and his family. She harvested the plant, baked it into small pies for the magister's banquet, and presented them to the magister at the banquet. All the guests were seized by terrifying hallucinations after eating the pies and tore each other to pieces. Now, this is, a pretty par for the course story for Tevinter, but I do think that there is a chance that Archon Hadrianus could be the magister in this story.
I mean, it makes sense to think about that being the magister, especially if he discovered the plant growing out of the bodies of his dead slaves. Was he experimenting? Was
unclear?
He what was happening? And obviously in this story, when it gets passed down, the magisterium would want to quell the idea that a servant or slave or someone of low class could make such a strong move against
a whole entire magister's family.
Yeah, and the Archon.
True. Well, and to me, I think the act of baking Lunatic's Deathroot into the pies is kind of okay, well, did you do it just because you wanted to kill these people, or did you do it because you wanted to kill these people and make a statement to the founder of this one of these species, one of the related species? I don't think it's something we'll ever know the answer to, but I just think it's a fun little thought experiment.
I agree. Definitely agree. A little kind of fun little thing, and you decide it's one of those Codex entries you find, and you're like, oh, that's interesting.
And then you immediately move on. Yes. Yeah. Well, let's immediately move on to somebody who has a little bit more substance. And this is Archon Ishal, a name that you should find familiar because he is the Archon who initiated the construction of the Tower of Ishal in Ostagar. Iconic location in Dragon Age Origins. He does this at the height of the Tevinter Imperium's power in the Ancient Age. It was also an attempt to hold the territories of the Korcari Wilds and prevent the Chaasen tribes from encroaching on Tevinter's lands. The tower allegedly was also built by the dwarves. Now, something else we have about Archon Ishal is that there was a famous Tevinter sculptor named Appius Trius, and he was inspired by golems when he created the Tevinter Gate Guardians. He lived in the time of Archon Ishal and wrote about him, saying, "If Archon Ishal, gentle autocrat that he is, sees fit to ensure that my statues are known across the empire, and I hear that one shall stand in the western approach, I would treasure the small hope that someday I might see one walk again." End quote. So ultimately, since we find this codex entry in the western approach, we can assume that Archon Ishal did in fact grant Appius's requests, and the statues spread throughout the empire. And then last thing I have to say about Archon Ishal is that Enodotus, a descendant of Ishal, is responsible in the Dragon Age for the upkeep of the Juggernaut golems which guard Minrathous. So Ishal kind of starts this whole Gollum thing with this Appius Trius guy, and that tradition stays in their family until the modern era. So that's pretty significant.
Okay, I have a couple questions because I need to know. Are the hissing wastes part of the Western approach?
I think so.
Like they're all.
I mean, technically, in the game of Inquisition, they are separate areas. But when you look at the map, it's the Western approach of Orlais, really.
Right, and like, I mean, the Emerald Graves, the Emerald Graves, the Exalted Plains, the Emprise de Luon.
That's all the Dales.
That's all the Dales, and that's all Orlais.
Right.
Like, so I think that the Forgotten Oasis, the Western approach, and the Hissing Wastes are all that kind of area.
Yes. Yeah. And well, it makes sense because the geography is all completely the same as well.
Yes. Is the Juggernaut that thing we fight at the end of, or not that we fight, but that's that big, like, golem looking thing that we fight at the end of Veilguard?
I don't remember.
I think it's called the Juggernaut.
Then probably, but I don't remember. I'm rusty on my Veilguard lore.
Right. There is not enough giant stuff apparently in Thame. We got ogres, we got golems,
we've got giants regular
got dragons.
Yeah, fair. All right. Well, anything else about Archon Ishal?
No, other than this, like, it makes me want to keep the question of, like, if you're inspired by golems, we know that golems take sacrifice of a, like, living soul. And,
so
like,
who's powering the Juggernaut?
Yeah, so, like, what is this? I wish Shale could come tell us about the Juggernaut.
Yeah, me too. All right, so the next Archon I have before our mid-break is Archon Lovius. And we know very little about Archon Lovius, but we do have a few items that are attributed to him. First is the Wrath of Lovius staff from Dragon Age Inquisition. Looted from the elite rebel mage in the hinterlands, the description says, quote, patterned after the staff of Archon Lovius. Ever watchful for rivals, the canny Lovius crafted a weapon that also shielded him with energy that absorbed hostile spell power. His death at age 89 from choking on a fishbone is the subject of a few notable Tevinter comedies, end quote. So we have one more Archon that was not assassinated, that died of old age, to join the very few on the list.
Yeah, that is impressive. Choking on a fishbone.
Embarrassing.
That is embarrassing. I mean, they're small, I guess.
All right, so the next weapon that we can find from Archon Lovius is called Soulbound from Dragon Age Origins Awakening. Looted in the Black Marsh from the remains of the Baroness, this description states, quote, Archon Lovius forged 2 rings to simultaneously command the physical realm and the Fade. When equipped with the ring Earthbound, the character gains a bonus to willpower. So similarly, there is Earthbound, also from Origins Awakening. Looted from the Queen of the Black Marsh, has the same description as Soulbound. But this one has a little bit of a bug, though, where it embeds into the rune slot of a weapon instead of the ring slot by mistake. So unclear if you will actually get that bonus to willpower or not. If you know the answer, leave us a comment.
Yeah. I do think it's really, really interesting that this is like a ring that's created by an Archon, and I think this is like before the Ring of the Ferryman.
We don't know.
Yeah, I just found that really interesting, just the obsession with ring, and then the obsession with obviously like controlling the physical realm and the Fade. Because who's to say that because we don't have a time, and we're going to make an assumption that most of these take place in the Ancient Age. Especially like with all the like old stuff that exists with Black Marsh. Like I feel like it would either have to take in place in the Ancient Age or like right at the beginning of the Divine Age.
Yeah, we have no idea. I mean, the Black Marsh is in Ferelden, so there is the possibility that this one is a little bit later just because of the development of like the area, the settlement of Ferelden, but like this woman could have gotten these rings from anywhere. We really truly have no idea how to place it.
So it makes me wonder like how like to command the physical realm and the Fade, like was this before the Veil?
Yeah, I don't know. Did they? Yeah, I don't think so because Tevinter wasn't really like at its height.
I guess that's fair.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions I have with this one too. But I do have one last thing for Archon Lovius because he is also the author of an ancient book titled The Chant of Lovius, which we know nothing about, unfortunately. But allegedly, it is an arcane text that was almost lost. But you can find it in Lowtown in Kirkwall.
Is this one of the tomes that's part of the Lost Tome quest?
I believe so, but I don't think you can read it. But it's interesting because so we have items from Lovius in Origins with Awakening. We have an item from Lovius in Dragon Age 2. We have an item from Lovius in Dragon Age Inquisition. But when we go to Tevinter itself, he's nowhere to be found.
I mean, I do think that's interesting and we can theorize about that. But I also just think that this low-key lore thing just got forgotten.
Yeah, I know that's the answer. I know it is. But a girl can dream.
A girl can dream. Yeah, so these are really, really interesting. Again, they're just like kind of like footnotes in a history book. Like there's not really a lot to like, oh, they did so much and did this. They're just like, oh, that's interesting.
Okay, anyway.
So I don't have a lot of thoughts about that, but they're definitely interesting. I do think that this continues the trend importantly for Archons of like them being obsessed with like obtaining the newest or the most ancient or the most powerful magic and
or the secret knowledge or whatever.
Man, Tevinter would love Gnosticism.
They would. They really would.
Interesting. All right, any thoughts?
No, I agree with you. Like you're so right in your comparison to being a footnote. That's exactly what all these are. And I think now is a good time to go to our mid-break.
All right.
This episode is brought to you by Redfin. You're listening to a podcast, which means you're probably multitasking. Maybe even scrolling home listings on Redfin, saving homes without expecting to get them. But Redfin isn't just built for endless browsing. It's built to help you find and own a home. With agents who close twice as many deals, when you find the one, you've got a real shot at getting it. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Walmart Business is in the business of saving you time, money, and hassle. Whether your business started in a garage or is a garage, Walmart Business has the tools to help you get where you're going. Tools like free shipping, multi-user accounts, and just about any item your company needs.
Even a double filtration cyclone dust collector.
Yep, even that.
Sweet.
Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com. Terms apply.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
I've got this nefarious plan to go around to each of them and secretly tell them all the nasty things you said. That way they'll mutiny and I shall become the group leader.
You know, we have more comfortable rooms and basically infinite space, so why
does the trained assassin prefer a quiet, unassuming spot with good choke points?
Guess you just answered that question.
Besides, I'm closer to the coffee.
Just wondering if the feathered pauldrons are an essential part of the moody rebel mage persona.
What are you talking about?
I'm working on an epic poem about a hopelessly romantic apostate. waging an epic struggle against forces he can't possibly defeat.
What do you mean, can't possibly defeat?
Well, it's not a good story unless the hero dies.
So, yeah, welcome to the middle of the show where we take time to thank our patrons. Special thank you to our first patrons, Genesis and Lisa M. And a new special thank you to our newest patron, Lily R. Thank you so much for joining. If you'd like to join us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/DALorecast. Another great way to support us is to leave us ratings and reviews, and you can do so by going to Spotify and Apple and leaving us 5 stars. If you leave us 5 stars and some kind words, we will read out your comment or review on a future episode of the show. All right, and so we have a comment today that comes from our To Lich or Not To Lich patron chat episode, which was a debate. And so this comes from Nichelle H. And they say, I'm so excited to listen to this and perfect for the season. I haven't listened yet, but just my thoughts on Emmerich. Was he such a 10 out of 10 surprise? Just like Soulless in Inquisition, I was fully prepared to ignore this guy, but quickly became what I looked forward to. I restarted my first playthrough just to romance him properly when I realized just what an amazing character he was. And don't get me started on Manfred. I don't think it's hard to determine which choice I chose for Emmerich. Haha. Licham is hot as F, but I'm a softie, so Manfred is it every time.
Hard agree in every sentence.
Yes. Thank you so much for that comment. We are so glad that you enjoyed that episode and that you have a love for Emmerich. We, too, have a love for our old mage in the Veilguard. Last thing I have is come hang out with us on Discord. You can find that link in the episode description. Cups Podcasting and More Discord. It's a great place on the internet. Come hang out with us and talk about Dragon Age, Assassin's Creed, whatever video game is your fancy, or talk about food, or all the various things that we have to talk on that Discord. And with that, that's all I have for the middle of the show.
All right, well, let's get back into it.
AI is incredible. It can teach you how to fry an egg and even write a poem, pirate style. Yarr! But it knows nothing about your work. Slackbot is different. It doesn't just know the facts. It knows your schedule. It can turn a brainstorm into a brief. And it doesn't need to be taught. Because Slackbot isn't just another AI. It's AI that knows your work as well as you do. Visit slack.com/meet Slackbot to learn more.
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
My people have heard legends of the Grey Warden's strength and skill. Though I suppose not every legend is true.
That's really helpful. What are you, the elven god of sarcasm?
Lies, treachery, and rebellion, depending upon the story. And how could I help? I do not have my ritual dagger. I cannot access my network of mirrors to travel from the lighthouse to anywhere in the world. All I can offer is what I know.
Helpful advice from the elven god of, and I am quoting you here, lies, treachery, and rebellion.
Depending on the story.
You fear barbarians will swoop down upon you.
Yes, swooping is bad.
Okay, so we've got 2 more Archons and then a hefty side character. So I'm going to dive into Archon Melos. Not really sure. Again, we know very little about this Archon. But what's interesting to me is that we do have a codex entry from Archon Melos, written by him from Origins Awakening. So it is given to you when you enter the Drake's Fall location and says this, quote, "Legends speak of a place where dragons go to die. In the far south, in the lands of the barbarian tribes, it is said that a dragon at the end of her days lies down and allows the bitter cold to take her. It is not just a legend. I have seen Drake's Fall with my own eyes, the ancient bones of these grand beasts piled atop one another. I felt the power that suffused this place and knew that the Imperium would claim it. We built a city on the bones. We delved deep into the earth, collecting what remained of the primordial dragons who were so like our old gods. With these bones, we created staves for our magisters, armor for our warriors, and crowns for our archons. We fashioned phylacteries to hold our blood and sarcophagi to hold our bodies, and prayed that they would make us immortal. I have so many things to say about this codex entry. Number 1, they used phylacteries in Tevinter. Number 2, dragons who were so like our old gods. Hello. Number 3, it's really funny to me that like the north of Ferelden is the far south in the lands of the barbarian tribes. It's just funny. Quirk of geography there. But by far the 2 most interesting things to me about this codex entry are the lines about the old gods and the line about the phylacteries.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think this one is way later than the Ancient Age.
Possible.
Solely because I think that the way they speak about the old gods implies that worship of the old gods has kind of fallen.
Oh, you think so?
By the wayside a little bit.
But to me, I feel like it has to be before the time of Andraste, because if it was in the time of Andraste, they wouldn't have said in the lands of the barbarian tribes. They would say in the lands of Andraste and Mafrath.
Oh, I guess that is fair. That is probably fair. So maybe it is like around that turn of the age kind of thing. Like maybe Andraste is just starting up, and there isn't like a like she hasn't really like made her stride yet.
Yeah, like maybe like 300 or 400 years before the Divine Age. That's certainly possible. But yeah, I just thought that was so interesting.
Yeah.
And then, okay, the last Archon I have is Archon Vias, and this is like one sentence. What we know about him is that he is the author of a book titled Tevinter Journeys Inward, which is a book that's actually a part of a group of books on the nature of the Fade that Solus requests Josephine to find for him in Inquisition.
I find the title really interesting, Tevinter Journeys Inward, to be a book about the Fade. Like, is it about like Tevinter dreamers? Because I know that like Tevinter really like treasures the dreamers a lot more than like the rest of Thedas does. I mean, Tevinter treasures magic more than the rest of Thedas does. But like there's a thing of like they're held in high regards because of their ability to affect the Fade, basically. So I wonder if this book is on dreamers.
Possible, but also, you know, to me, the implication is there that the Fade and going to it is something that is accessible to all people, all Tevinter people, because you're journeying inward into yourself. That's the interpretation that's like top of my mind, that journeying inward to what?
Right. Well, and all sentient creatures other than dwarves, at least we know, dream in the Fade. Or is it just mages that do that?
That's a question I'm not sure of the answer to, but I feel like I remember there's something about Qunari, because Iron Bull says something to the effect of like when you are in the Fade for the first time, he has some kind of comment about how like this is not normal for Qunari. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not caught up on that lore to be able to make a definitive statement, but I just think that like it is interesting, like because we think of the Fade as something that is like exterior and like otherworldly in another dimension, not something that you journey inward to find. Yeah. But I mean, mages dream and go to the Fade.
It's true.
Like that is a real thing.
All right. So do you have any overarching thoughts about these Archons before we get into our side character?
Just really kind of re-emphasizing like these are footnotes. Like it's kind of like a lot of times the Book of Kings in the Bible is an example of this, of like you'll have random kings that have like really, really long stories, and then you'll have like a chapter where you go through like 12 kings that are just, they ruled from this time to this time. They were good. They ruled from this time to this time. They were bad.
Yeah, we just went through that for the Dragon Age universe.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into today's side character, who is yet another Magister. This time one who has a lot of mystery surrounding him. So we're talking about Magister Aurelian Titus, who we first meet in the comics.
Yes, I remember him.
Yes. So we know that he was granted a seat in the Magisterium in 928 Dragon by Archon Daven, which surprised many people in universe as well as myself. And that's because Titus, for several reasons, he does not claim a family lineage that can trace back to the original Magister's Sidereal. Nor does he have a family lineage that could trace back to the original noble houses of Tevinter. Nor does he claim a lineage that is even well known in Tevinter. His lineage, in fact, is so unknown that nobody knows him at all, and on top of that, he owns no lands, nor does he manage any estate until he becomes a Magister, which is then when he takes control of an ancient fortress on Saharon named Oth Valanis. Additionally, the only recorded Titus family ever even heard of in Tevinter was eradicated during the Black Age.
Let's just keep going.
You just look like you had a lot to say.
I'm having thoughts, but I need to piece them together. So just keep going.
All right. So despite this man's virtual appearance out of thin air and the infinite red flags that came along with him, many Magisters and their hangers-on wanted to attach themselves to Aurelian simply because of his proximity to the Archon. Within the span of about a year or so, he had accumulated a large web of Magister allies, all under the vague guise of currying favor with Archon Daven. So, an anonymous Magister who was investigating Aurelian Titus believed that he had been helping Archon Daven in the shadows for years, and that he already had an army of fanatics at his disposal when Titus became a Magister. So, like, even from the get-go, he has got people everywhere. He's got spies, he's got, bribes, he's virtually Liliana in Magister form. Only a year after Aurelian became a full member of the Magisterium, Archon Daven was assassinated. Many rumors flew that said Daven's death came after an argument between him and Titus. However, Aurelian continued to rise in popularity, so much so that the revelations of his worship of the old gods caused virtually no stir at all. Rumors then began to spread that he was going to return all of the Imperium to the worship of the old gods, which then, of course, began to cause a struggle between the Imperial Chantry and the Black Divine, one which Titus appeared to be involving himself in and winning. So that is all of the background to Aurelian Titus. I want to get into the specific comics that he appears in, which are 3. But do you have any thoughts before we do that?
This is my opinion, and we can talk about this. But I think he is an Altus. I think he is a Soperati. That's whatever the mages that are not noble.
Soperati is the non-mage citizen.
Okay. What is a non-noble mage?
Latents.
Latents,
yeah.
Yeah, I think he's a Latent. And I think that he either was a childhood friend of Archon Daven or just helped him out at some point and he raised him up to this status and then just basically gaslit all of Tevinter. He's a Magister. Oh no, he has no family lineage. It's whatever. And then just gaslit everyone that it wasn't an issue.
Yeah, but like even if he was a kid in Tevinter, like wouldn't there be people that knew him from childhood?
I guess that's fair. I don't know. It's definitely interesting, but let's get into the comics.
Yeah, it's a magnitude of red flags for sure. So in the Silent Grove, we meet Titus, and he is involved in some shady shit because it is revealed through the comic that he is the one who's behind the attempted kidnapping of King Alistair of Ferelden. According to Yavanna, witch of the Antivan Wilds, Titus is also the one who organized King Merrick's disappearance. And he's the one that organized King Merrick's disappearance because he wanted the blood of Calenhad that runs through the Theron bloodline. Alistair is fully ready to yeet this man into oblivion when he hears that he is probably the cause of his father's disappearance.
Yeah, this is interesting because it's just coming into like, now I'm remembering of like, and we'll get into this into those who speak comic, but he's a member of very similar to like the Androsten dragon cult.
What are they called? Yeah, the one in Haven. Colgrim and his peeps. Yeah, anyway.
Disciples of Andraste.
Yes, I think you're right. The Disciples of Andraste. Yeah. So let's keep going into those who speak. So in this one, Alistair, Isabella, and Varric are attending a ball in Quirinus when Aurelian arrives. Alistair promptly demands that Aurelian tell them what happened to King Merrick. The Magister and his minions, who we find out are part of a dragon cult, prepare to attack. And when Titus tries to use blood magic on Alistair, Alistair uses his Templar skills to interrupt it. And of course, they're all shocked. And as soon as Aurelian realizes that Alistair is also a Templar, he orders his minions to seize Alistair and they leave. In the ensuing fight, Alistair and his companions kill all of Aurelian's men but one, who gives the location of his master's home on Saharon to the party.
This is such like a really good like adherence to the lore of this because Tevinter Templars do not use lyrium. They do not have anti-magic abilities. And so this is one of the reasons why when you talk about like the exalted marches on Tevinter, why the Archons and the Divines Black Divines actually fear an exalted march on their Tevinter, because their mages do not know how to deal with Orlesian Templars or the Order of the Seekers.
Right.
And they are detrimental to them.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, Templars in Tevinter are really nothing more than like overpowered security guards. Like they can't do anything. And so it is a shock when they have to be confronted with somebody who's actually been trained as a Templar in the South.
Yes, like, and I think we really see this in a lot of the stories with Lord Seeker Lampert.
Yes.
And like how much he is like able to just move circles around some of these Tevinter mages who are suddenly so powerful, but it's because he's a seeker and he is literally designed to counter them.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. So the last comic that we see Titus in is Until We Sleep. And so Alistair and the crew attack his home on Saharon, which is where Aurelian uses a new power, Dragonfire, which he says comes from the Theron bloodline. Allegedly, it came to the Theron bloodline because Calenhad drank great dragon blood, and that has lingered through their lineage over the centuries. As he says, quote, "Power could have been the Theron's birthright. Instead, it just kills." Which, to be fair, he does have a point, as most of the Therons have died young.
Mm-hmm.
But the party does find Merrick within the fortress, connected to a magical device called the Magrawlin. He is not really King Merrick, more so like a husk of a human being that's been drained for parts. Maevaris is there and believes that Aurelian's purpose is to restore the greatness of old Tevinter through the power of the Theron blood, the Magrolin, and his cult of dreamers. However, Varric saves the day and shoots the Magrolin. They do end up in the Fade, where they see the full extent of Aurelian's dreams for Tevinter, where dragons incinerate all who rebel. Slaves are punished constantly and reminded of their place in society. The chant of light and the Qun are erased from the minds of all people, and only the worship of the old gods is allowed. Ultimately, Fade Merrick kills Fade Aurelian, which kills him also in real life. So Merrick Theron, long dead, has come back from the dead to kill a Tevinter Magister, which, if word got out of this, would cause a war like we've never seen, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. It's also really interesting to me because this is a little inconsistency in the lore, because the keeper of Meryl's clan, and what is her name? Marathari. She talks about that, like, if we kill the Dreamer in DA2,
Fainreal,
if we kill him in the Fade, we make him tranquil.
Yeah.
But here, Aurelian dies instead of being made tranquil.
Right.
So, like, what is the truth? Like, I guess it depends on, like, we're dealing with the land of dreams. So, like, is he actually dead or is he not dead? Like, what is that?
Great question. And I have a lot more. So, we've said he dies at the end of the comic series, but I assume his underlings are still around, right? Is it possible that his cult goes on to become the Venatori? Is he the one that had Daven assassinated after all, or was that somebody else? Where did he really come from? And who has his true allegiance? And what would have happened if Aurelian Titus lived long enough to get hold of red lyrium? Lots and lots of scary possibilities here.
I really agree with this, and I am going to propose his kind of, like, origin. I'm going to propose a theory here.
Okay.
So he has a really strong connection to Saharon. And we know that, like, that is a long, contentious kind of, like, area between the Qun and the Tevinter. Like, because it sits on the border between Tevinter and Parvalin. My personal theory is that I believe that the Qunari are a result of the Evanuris experimenting with mixing of dragon blood and elves.
I agree.
I think that is the result of the Qunari, and I think they did it on the island of Saharon, and I think that they established a lot of settlements there that are unknown because it's very, like, much of a jungle. A lot of it is uncharted. A lot of it is hard to deal with and all of that. I think he comes from some kind of hidden settlement that is left over from whatever cults and everything remain there from the time of the creation of the Qunari. And so that's why he's so secretive. That's why he is after the great dragon blood. That's all of this thing, because he has been passed down and knows of the experiments that ended up creating the Qunari, who, by all means, like, especially when you take the fire breathers into consideration, are an extremely formidable creation.
Yeah. I think that's a great theory. I just have one question, and that's, if this was true, then wouldn't it make more sense for him to be an elf?
I do think it would make more sense to be an elf, but it is also possible that there has been a lot of inbreeding and he could have elven lineage.
That's true.
And because we
know it just takes one generation.
Yeah, to just completely erase any signs of elven lineage there.
True.
I mean, look at Michel.
True.
Really interesting. I remember liking him in a villain, and, like, I kind of miss this like era of Dragon Age a little bit
Yeah.
of like the like magisters who you watch magisters do this and you're like, what in the name of everything are you trying to do here? Like
Yeah.
you are truly terrifying, not you're some political
Yeah.
like minion grabbing for power.
Well, I think it's also just like the effect of like the grayness almost. Like everybody on the internet says that they want like a morally gray villain that they can lust over, right? But at the end of the day, like we want bad guys to be bad. And this comes from an era in Dragon Age when bad guys were bad. Like we didn't always have the, oh, well, bad guys can be good too. Like we very, very, very much do in Inquisition and Veilguard, which both have their place. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, this feels a lot more like classic fantasy than the Veilguard does, for sure.
Yes. And I think that like in Inquisition, I don't mind it as much because I feel like they were trying to expand Tevinter and like show that like Tevinter is not a monolith, which
Yeah.
I think is good world building. But there's still a mageocracy that is built on the back of slavery. Like
True.
we have to remember that.
Yes. Great points. All right. Well, that is all. That's all she wrote for Non-Chronological Archons, Aurelian Titus, and Tevinter history in general, the first arc of this season.
This has been a fantastic little arc. I've learned so much. I think that Hessarian is my favorite Archon, which I feel like is classic. I just really like him. But I also like really liked the first Archon as a leader, the one who's like officially the first Archon.
Thalcian?
Not Thalcian, the one
one after Thalcian.
Yeah, the one who like establishes basically the Archon and all.
Durinius.
Durinius.
Yes.
I also found Durinius really interesting.
Yeah, Durinius is a good one.
Yeah. And I just think all of these were really interesting, and I'm excited to see where we go in the history of the rest of the human tribes and the human areas. I have a feeling that they're not going to be as robust as.
I have two things to say. They a lot of them will be as robust, yes, but we won't have as many episodes in the other areas, but we will still have like a lot of things to talk about. And then the second thing I want to say is I think every single person who listens to this podcast for more than just like one or two knows that Hessarian would be your favorite Archon, just like everybody who listens to this podcast more than just one or two times knows that Tadarion would be my favorite Archon.
Yeah.
Okay. We can wrap it up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for this. It was a great little series and arc and a great episode. And thank you all for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Dragon Age Lorecast. If you have any lore questions, topics to cover, or side character suggestions, join the Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet.
You can also support the podcast financially and ensure its continuation by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/DALorecast. If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, rating, or comment, or join our Patreon.
The Dragon Age Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Podcasting Network. If you enjoyed our intro or outro music, give a big shout out to Pipeman Studios. Until next time, look to the sky. The dawn will come.
Are you a fan of Indiana Jones? How about someone who just enjoys an immersive story of historical fiction? If so, then the Indiana Jones Lorecast is the place for you. Join me, Sir Bandit, as we delve into the amazing and rich history of the Indiana Jones franchise, from the films and TV series to the novels, comics, and games. The show is available wherever you get your podcasts, so if you feel that call to adventure, you can come find me in my office. I'll see you there.